What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Please like and subscribe. Today, I am going to go into something known as everyone is you pushed out. Okay, so let's talk about it. Everyone is you pushed out. So this is a term that was coined by Neville Goddard. And if you guys don't know who Neville Goddard is, I don't know what to do. I can't help you. Go away. He knows his stuff. And what's really amazing is that you can find a lot of his lectures for free right on YouTube from the 50s, I believe, maybe the 60s. And so you actually get to hear him explaining everything in his own voice, which I love to hear it in someone's own voice, in someone's own words. And he also has a lot of books, and actually the books are quite slim, which I think also says something to what he is teaching, because if something is self-evident, if something is true, I don't think it needs a lot of explanation, personally. So the reason that I didn't get into Neville Goddard earlier is because, and maybe some of you have had this experience, you read him and there's a lot of biblical talk. There's a lot. And for me, that was a little bit off-putting because I guess I had certain assumptions. I had certain expectations about what it meant if someone quoted the Bible, and I wasn't willing to get into that. But once you hear his explanation of the Bible, it's unforgettable, and you can't ever see it any other way. Now, I say this also as someone who wasn't raised religiously reading the Bible, so I don't necessarily have a strong impression of any other kind of interpretation of the Bible. However, you know, I come from very Protestant British stock, so even though that wasn't necessarily taught to me, even though I didn't go to church, my understanding of what the Bible was and represented, and my understanding of God and my understanding of Jesus Christ and all of those things was passed on, was present. It's kind of in the air when you think about it. Even if you don't really know anything about the Bible, based on living in the Western world, you do kind of know what the Bible is about. But he presents the Bible as something completely different, and he presents it basically as a manifesto for manifesting, and that's all it is. That what the Bible is actually showing you through story, through allegory, is that we are all God and we are all Jesus Christ, or rather, our imagination is God. That's what it is, and that our imagination creates everything that we encounter in this world. The other thing that I really appreciate about Neville is he wants you to test it. He says, don't just take my word for it. Go out and try it. Try it and you will see. Because with this message is actually something incredibly empowering. He is saying you are God. You are God of your reality. Meaning there is nothing that you cannot do. There is nothing that you cannot experience. There is nothing that someone else can do to you. There's nothing else that someone can do for you, even, unless you allow it to happen. So he encourages you go out and test it. And now, specifically, with all of that foreground, I want to go into the topic of everyone is you pushed out. So what does he mean when he says everyone is you pushed out? It's exactly what it sounds like. I almost like to think of this as a mold, that it's literally like a mold on you that you have pushed out in these different directions into the 3D world. So he says everyone is you pushed out, but it's also everything is you pushed out. Now, this isn't that different from people saying that everything is a mirror, but I actually like this a lot better, and I think it's less scary, first of all, and I think it's more empowering. And I think it's a little bit more accurate than saying everything is a mirror. The everything is a mirror piece is important, is a great, great metaphor, because we all know that looking into a mirror, you don't change the mirror by by trying to mess around with the mirror. You change the mirror based on what you do over here on this side of the mirror. And that, I think, is really the power of that metaphor, is it's an immediate way of explaining how to change your reality. The same is true of this. Everyone is you pushed out. If everyone is you pushed out, then naturally it follows that you change yourself. Everything pushed out changes as well. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is literally you and everyone is displaying an aspect of you. It's not that. It's that everyone is displaying an assumption you have made about them. You have decided how the world is and who the world is. And they are giving that back to you because you're God and they have to. This also goes into the idea of free will, that no one except you actually has free will. And I think this is where law of attraction gets a lot of, I think this is a thing that people have a hard time with when they hit against this principle that no one else has free will, because it sounds wrong. It sounds like we are controlling, manipulating people in that way. And I want to alleviate some of that fear and stigma. So first of all, let's look at the presumption that everyone does have free will. Now, you could argue that everyone has free will because you assume they have free will, in which case they don't really have free will. They are still going along with your orders, in a way. They're also going along with an idea that you have created about how they live their lives, what they think, what they do, what they dream about, who they meet, how they spend their time, all of that. They can surprise you, but you never have proof that they have free will. No one can ever prove to you that they have free will or that they even have consciousness. This, I think, is something that Nietzsche said, which is there's no evidence anywhere that anyone has consciousness aside from you. You can't find it. There's no evidence that free will exists outside of you. And you can test this. You can test it. You can see, is it true that people have free will? Is it true that people don't have free will? Is it true that my assumptions of those people and my creation of those people is what locks them into that behavior? This is another aspect that I want to suggest that maybe it isn't so terrible that people don't have free will. Let's say someone is the way that you perceive them, and they must always show up that way for you. They are very much in a kind of prison under that assumption, under that rule, right? They have a personality, they have an appearance, they have a way that must be met by you. You're still dictating who they are, even if you are hiding it with, yeah, but they are that way, not because of me, just because they are that way. See, this is the thing. I feel like with all of these principles, human beings are so quick to not want to take responsibility for all of it. And I brought up, so funny, because I think we know this. I think there is something deeply known about this, and yet we still hide ourselves from the truth of it. So I brought this up with my parents. I was reading a lot of Neville at the time, and I brought him up, and they had never heard of him. They're quite spiritual people. And I got quite emotional at the dinner table, and I said, you know, we're God. With the full meaning and the weight of that. If you think about that, if you think about the totality of that, that means A, everything has been done by you. And B, anything can be done by you. And they both looked at me like I was a bit, okay, a bit fussing over nothing. And they said, yeah, of course we're God. But to me, at least, they didn't seem to see the implications of that. And this is another aspect of the everyone is you pushed out, is that people do not give you back, how do I say this? People are not really responding in a way that is free, right? That is impersonal. On one side of the coin, you always want to take things impersonally. You don't want to make anything personal. You always want to be deciding what things mean. You always want to be deciding the rules. You always want to be deciding that you are whole and complete. There is nothing wrong with you. And people are just saying what they're saying, and it has nothing to do with you. That's a very good rule to go by. And at the same time, if someone is saying something that triggers you, that upsets you, that gets on your nerves, chances are they are reflecting back an insecurity or a block of your own. They're actually giving you feedback. They're giving you feedback of something that is implanted in you that is now in that other person. You know, it's you pushed out. That's a fear, that's an insecurity, that's a worry, that's a doubt you hold that has been pushed out and delivered back to you through that other person. So they're actually a messenger for you, and you should be grateful. But also, it makes no sense to react to it because it's just something that you've put there. The more that you work with this kind of idea, you realize that like thoughts and ideas are things. So thoughts and ideas are things. And if you put it out there, you know, like if I put a cup on a table and then someone else gives me back the cup, it makes no sense to react to the cup. I put it there. That was me. I was doing all of it. And the thing about this too is because now you're taking full responsibility and realizing that you have a say in everything because you had say in everything, you don't react anymore because you know it's just past thought and you can change it and you can alter it. So that is everyone is you pushed out with some other things attached to it. And I am going to do another one of these. I will do another everyone is you pushed out, more focused and concentrated. But yeah, that's it. So please let me know what you think about all of this. and I also say this like I have my own expectations of how people will react to this kind of material or this kind of line of thinking, and I am choosing that everyone is actually like really open and appreciative of my sharing this and talking about this. Okay, I love you, and I want you to know that you are the one. You are the only one in your reality. You are the chosen one. Okay. I will see you